Hey guys, Kris Jones, episode 67 of Ask Me Anything. Today's totally awesome because I've been keeping it under the wraps since October 1st. But many of you will know who this gentleman is, but I would like to introduce those of you that haven't met Chris Nash to meet Chris Nash. Chris and I, we're going to learn more about Chris. You want to say something? Go ahead, chime in.
I was just going to say hi. Hi, guys. I look forward to getting involved in some of these in the future.
Cool. So the reason why Chris is here is because he's going to be here a lot more often. Chris and I met 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's been that long.
Might even have been a little longer. We had very similar backstories. I'll let Chris tell you a little bit more about his backstory in just a couple of minutes. But a couple years ago, you guys know I founded a company called ReferLocal.com. Chris was our president, and he was our president during the fastest growth period of the company. And when I had made the decision to take the technology and pretty much move it to California, Chris left and went and did other things. But guys, seriously, those of you that know me really, really well know I've said this in private dozens of times. Over all these years, if there was one person in the back of my mind, like when I think about what I did with Pepper Jam and Mike Jones, I never would have had the level of success I had with Pepper Jam without Mike Jones. But in the back of my mind, I thought to myself, Chris Nash is that kind of guy. He's the kind of guy that raises my game. I have naturally high standards, but somehow he's able to actually even help me or encourage me to increase my standards more. So I had reached out to Chris a couple of weeks ago. Really, I was going to bring him on as a consultant for some of my startups. And long story short, Chris joined us on October 1st as president of LSEO.com, which is my digital marketing agency, super fast-growing company. With all of that said, so Chris, welcome to LSEO.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and this is familiar territory for you because you were with Refer Local, right?
Of course.
Tell us real quick about just a quick 30 seconds on your experience at Refer Local and working with me, I guess.
I loved, first of all, the model that you had there, and to connect traditional media with digital media, to me, was one of the most exciting parts of this. That's kind of what I did at All About Dance on some level. Obviously, it was on the e-commerce side, but we took a real traditional industry, a catalog-based industry, brought it current, did 5% of our business on the web, even though we had a catalog. And I love the idea that you were playing in that space and translating that, especially in a fast-growing space. Like the deal space at the time was interesting. When you look at places like Groupon, they were one of the fastest-growing companies to get to $1 billion, et cetera. So that was really exciting. But more than that, I think getting involved with you and watching you build that company, not only was it educational, but it was inspiring. And we were doing some pretty quick things, I think, and moving at a fast pace. And I love to be in that startup environment. I've always played in that space. I've played well in that space. So it was fun to be a part of that. And now to get the opportunity to now jump into this project as well, it's just as exciting, if not more exciting.
We never would have had the success that we've had with that company without your leadership during that important time. So very cool. So let's rewind a little bit. So you mentioned All About Dance.
Sure.
It's kind of sort of how we met each other, but go back just for our audience here, go back to just give us a narrative on the why. Like, why did you found it? How did it go about? And then you eventually sold it for what? What is it? A gazillion dollars?
A gazillion, yeah.
But go ahead, just tell us a little bit more about that.
Couple dollars. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. I think I was a self-starter. It probably just came from the way I grew up and, kind of assuming like the man of the household role when I was like literally 12 years old. So I've just always felt kind of independent in that way and knew that I would do better creating something of my own or working on something that I knew I had ownership of. And so that's just been my mentality from day one. I dabbled with starting some companies when I was in college, but one of the ones that really caught on was I built a website in college for a dancewear store that was from northeastern Pennsylvania, and it was actually Broadway Dreams at the time. And we just hit it at the right moment. It was 1999, 2000, when I don't think even marketing people didn't really understand how to leverage digital
That's
assets.
when I entered the industry as well.
Very similar time frame.
Yeah.
And so we built the website, started marketing it on the internet, and literally we were the number one result for dancewear for a good period of time. And the company just launched because of that. So, I got obsessed with digital marketing way back then when I don't think people really understood how to leverage it. And even some bigger companies that were connected to it.
This is for the audience. This is Button. This is Chris's dog. She's now our second office dog because one of my bulldogs comes in every day, Lucy. But,
but I think it was just the right time. And, I'm an obsessive person, so getting the chance to connect that to something like that. I love the e-commerce space. So to sort of just attach digital marketing to something like that, we grew rapidly. Turned it into the second largest discount dancewear supplier in the country, and we were lucky enough to sell the business in 2010 to one of the biggest competitors in the West Coast. So now they had East and West Coast distribution. It was just a perfect marriage of the two things. And I've taken that experience since then. I'm a digital marketing consultant, but as I said, I really enjoy being a part of something at the ground level. And so to join LSEO in this capacity is very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, to bring your 18 years of experience to the table for LSEO clients is pretty badass. So really excited about that. And the entrepreneurial side.
Yeah.
I think that's where my game we raise each other's game, right? So very cool. So over all these years, I know, like one of the things that I found most interesting about you is that as a hobbyist, you get into things. Like the thing about Kris is like when Kris decides like he's going to either learn more about something like cryptocurrency, or we're going to get in a second to a project that he's worked on with his stepfather, which is crazy. But photography was something that I had noticed like early in our relationship. Like this guy really takes that serious. So you have a website, chrisnash.com, right?
It's ChristopherNash.com.
ChristopherNash.com with a C. It's spelled incorrectly. And you, but so photography's always been a love of yours.
Well, what happened there is I was, you know how it goes in a startup business. We built the catalog ourselves in the early days of All About Dance, and I kind of learned a little bit of every part of the process, and when we got good at it, we handed it off, and we tried to delegate it, not always well. Photography and the catalog was one of those things. We built it completely on our own. We took the photos. I literally designed it in, myself in page layout programs, and so once I started using the technology, I just really enjoyed the camera as something that, I connected it to the digital world, and I sort of appreciate it as a piece of technology. And I wouldn't necessarily consider myself artistic, but I think once you understand how to use it, it just kind of came naturally to me. Yeah. So dance photography can be challenging because there's a lot of movement. So you really have to learn how to control it. So it just went from there, and that was kind of my introduction to it. I did some filming down in New York City on a couple projects. And obviously a lot of photos, and some of my photos were featured. And there was one time that was actually on the Jumbotron in Times Square. I had one of your photos. My dance pictures up on
my
that.
Wikipedia page. You're the guy, like you're given the photo credit. For
that's right. That's right.
Because when Kris and I worked together with Refer Local, he would come to events like where I was keynoting a conference, and we'd end up with 200 amazing photos.
Way too many pictures.
So
but
yeah,
yes.
so you've gotten photo credits on that. Another thing real quick, and for those of you listening to this in northeastern Pennsylvania, Kris is a very familiar face. There is a local organization called Power, which basically focuses on providing networking opportunities, among other things, opportunities to get involved in service projects and other things for young professionals. And prior to Kris's involvement, the organization, to put it lightly, was small, and it lacked energy, it lacked vision. It really was not anything like he left it once he had left. But can you just tell us a little bit more about how you got involved in Power, and then what your role was, and then maybe just, what are some of the things you accomplished with it?
It was a bit of a happy accident. It's funny because there are times in my life where I kind of buckle down and get involved in a project, and I don't, venture out as publicly as I do sometimes. But Power, I really wanted to make a change, and I wanted to have an impact. And I was involved in the junior leadership program, kind of speaking to that organization and trying to inspire kids to either get involved in entrepreneurial studies or just, make inspiring choices in their career path. And that kind of led me into Power. And I liked the idea that we were bringing together people in the area that had similar mindsets and that wanted to either do something professionally or just to bring some brain power together. There's obviously a social component to it. You want to provide people an incentive to go out and either experience one of the new restaurants in town. So we always tried to find the hottest place in town to do it, or some place that was just renovating or reopening. I think we had good success there. We obviously had great attendance.
But it went, literally, to put it in perspective, went from an organization that would struggle to get anybody to show up.
It went defunct for 8 months. Yeah. And so when we took it over, we blew the doors off. We had our event at River Grill.
Yeah. And how many people showed up?
Wow, like 200.
Yeah.
And we basically, it was standing room only in there. And that's not a ton of people, but from a local event that used to carry 11 and 12 people, we opened our event with 200.
Yeah, in this region, if you asked a random person how many active young professionals are in our area that are doing amazing things, they might have said 50,
right?
Let alone 200 on a rando night. We're at River Grill. So,
and things like that ultimately led to projects. Obviously, since I have the entrepreneurial desire, I ended up making some connections and literally formed a new company out of that called Max Bench.
Yeah.
And made some connections there to work on a project where it was a piece of fitness equipment where when you're weightlifting and you get to the point where you either get tired or you're pushing the limit and really want to get your reps out, or you're trying to lift heavy weight, you can literally just press a foot pedal when you're done, and the bench drops down and saves you from the weight. So if you get tired, you're not going to get crushed.
Yeah.
So that was a really cool piece of fitness equipment, and now I've taken that and really run with it. We're getting our product made overseas. Yeah. We've launched a few new products, but that's one of the companies I'm involved with. Just to give you an example.
That's awesome. And another one. So 3-4 years ago, Kris introduced me to his stepfather, a gentleman by the name of Anthony Archer Wills. This is before Anthony's international fame as the pool master on
Animal Planet.
Animal Planet.
And the Discovery Channel.
But so Anthony came in here and he's just like, European guy. This guy has got more personality than life. But
he's larger than life for sure.
So you worked with him, and you still continue to support his success.
I do.
As the pool master on Animal Planet. And who is Anthony? What was Pool Master, and what are some of the projects that he's working on now?
Oh my gosh! Anthony is a water gardener, and he is the quintessential true artist. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons I got involved in his business, and his business is doing, I don't even want to call it landscaping, but it's water gardens at the highest level. So he's building large waterfalls, huge ponds. It was the Pool Master, and they framed it that way to, I think, really appeal to the person with a backyard pool or a small pond. But he really specializes in ponds and building natural elements. So not most of the builders, but fewer designers out there build natural installations. I think a lot of people build sort of formal structures. What percentage of houses have a standard pool in the back that's just a square? Yeah. Anthony builds natural water elements that look like they've been there for an eternity. You literally cannot tell that it was man-made. Yeah. That's his specialty. Yeah. So he does this for celebrities and big clients, and we can't really, unfortunately, talk about who they are. Yeah. But he works with billionaires, so it's a really fun project to be connected to because I handle all the negotiations for him and try to keep him just on the artistic side and the design side so he doesn't have to worry about what he considers mundane. I love the business aspect of it, so it's exciting to me. But he worries about his piece, and I worry about that piece, and it's a nice synergy.
And again, that's one of the things I'm so excited about you bringing to the table at LSEO is, again, that entrepreneurial spirit, that ability to negotiate and ultimately serve the customer, the end client, right? Because at the end of the day, yes, Anthony comes in, they've seen him on TV, he's he literally is larger than life, and probably, no offense to him, probably needs a guy like you that has the ability to polish up the negotiating and make sure he gets gets taken care of.
He fully admits it. He fully admits it, and I don't think that's a shortcoming. I actually don't want him to be connected to that. I think it actually dumbs the process down. He needs to flourish on his side and go out there and wow the clients and do his job in that regard. And obviously, he's a master at that. He doesn't even realize he's that good. So I'm obviously biased, but I think you can count on one hand the number of people that do the kind of work that Anthony does to build that kind of water feature to make it look like, I think in the show they say literally it looks like God put it there. And when you can do that and be a part of something like that, I think it's pretty special.
Yeah. So check out Pool Master on Animal Planet. So everybody's going to get to see you a lot more on these videos. We're going to be launching a video series that Kris is going to be very actively involved in front of the camera, behind the camera. So stay tuned for that in the next couple of weeks, where we're going to dive deep on very specific issues and outcomes and try to help you guys, amplify the success you're having with digital marketing. But maybe just a minute or two on what you're most excited about being president of LSEO, and what some of our clients might expect through your efforts, and just kind of reflect on that.
I mean, selfishly, I love the opportunity of working side by side with you. I mean, that's a given. I think, as you mentioned before, there's always sort of, we up the ante when it comes to personal development. I think just entrepreneurial focus and inspiration, and I just attaching that to the business itself is exciting. But as it relates to LSEO specifically, I think this is one of the most exciting places to play in. I don't really feel like your average person really understands SEO, so that's an interesting. Everyone's heard of it on someone. They're like, well, what is this thing? And don't get me wrong, marketers know what it is. They know they need it for their properties, but to translate that over and to make an impact, when you can literally get a business positioned in a better place, in the most important place on earth, in Google, in Bing, in these places where everyone's already looking for your product or your service or your personality, we help people show up there. Yeah. And that's kind of magical to me. I think if we can bring businesses to the top and promote them and literally revolutionize what they do, that's exciting to me. And I don't think it's always done well. I think there's a lot of confusion in the market. These things change so rapidly. So to have a company like ours, which obviously we have the confidence that we know we're talking about, but to have a company that's going to navigate those waters and actually get results at the end of the day, I don't know. That's pretty cool to me, and I enjoy being a part of it.
That's awesome. So, guys, we have a special treat for you. In the next episode, we're going to actually turn the camera around and let my old buddy of 15 years do a quick interview with me. So stay tuned in a couple of days for episode 68. I'll talk to you guys soon. Kris, thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
So stoked to have you on
Yes,
board.
thank you. Thank you.
Big
It's my
things
pleasure.
ahead. Peace.
Take care.